Hey guys, this is Doug, and today we're talking all about Phoenix, Jean Grey, in Marvel Crisis Protocol. Everybody, welcome back to the Danger Planet. I have Mr. Shane here with me, and I have a new friend of mine. If you are familiar with the Discord, or if you're part of our Discord community, you probably already know this guy. He's the man. I play games with him, all different types of games with him. But one of his specialty games is Marvel Crisis Protocol, and one of his primary factions is X-Men. So it felt only appropriate to welcome Omar officially to the Danger Planet for the first time. Mr. Omar, a longtime viewer, longtime friend of mine, first-time Danger Planet attendee. Why don't you give the folks a little bit of background on kind of who you are as a gamer, how you got into gaming, and what your background specifically with Marvel Crisis Protocol is?
Sure. Hello, people. So I'm obviously Omar. I have been playing miniature games now for maybe 7 or 8 years. I actually started with a Song of Ice and Fire miniature game.
Great game.
Fun. I also play some Malifaux. I've done some 40k. I think everyone has. And for the last year, maybe a year and a couple of months, I've been playing a lot of Marvel Crisis Protocol. It's kind of become my go-to game.
Like a lot.
Yeah.
Like he's had this motherfucker goes like twice a week sometimes at Marvel Crisis games on TTS. Like this guy plays a lot.
It's so much worse than that.
Yeah, a lot.
I was like twice a week. That's the
that's
low
a
end
normal
of the
amount.
total.
Yeah, not for normal person, guys.
Well, yeah, okay, that's fair. But it's one of the great things about MCP as a game is that it is short enough that you can really kind of get reps in, and you really kind of get those kind of iterative improvements. It's a little bit more difficult in something like Malifaux, which can normally
game
take
is 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah, or even like an actual a full army game like 40k, Age of Sigmar, that shit can take 5-6 hours, right? So like having something that's kind of short, you can normally get a game like 90 minutes if you're pretty good. Me, it's normally like 2 hours because I'm a slow motherfucker. But otherwise, it really kind of goes, and it's a really kind of fun game. Plus, I'm an X-Men fanboy, always have been, and X-Men '97, when it came out a little bit after I started playing this game, just really kind of took me to the moon in terms of my kind of appreciation for that. For those characters.
Yeah, and I think you're 100% spot on, man. It's the reason why I love this game so much is because I think the rules are written very clearly. I love the terrain rules, and I love the fact that I can sit down on TTS with you or Shane or a different one of my buddies that plays this game, and like it's a legitimate thing to say, let's try to get 2 games in tonight. There's no other war game that I play, and ladies and gentlemen and other folks of the internet, I play a lot of war games, let me tell you. And I don't play any of them that are as paced as this one, aggressively paced, but also with a really tight-knit rule set. So I'm right there with you, man. I agree with you 100%, and thank you for agreeing to come on the channel. You're a very, very, very talented player in my eyes. I've learned a lot from you as I'm coming up through the MCP ranks the last 2 years. You play a ridiculous amount of this game. And it just so happens that the X-Men they're still your core faction, right? X-Men?
Yeah, I love the X-Men.
Yeah. What are your others that you play? I mean, like Shane, it's like Shane, what do you play? He's like the game, and he like owns the entire game. But it's more for me. It's like I play Web Warriors, and trying to get good at Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, would you say it's just X-Men for you, or anything else?
No, so I'm a big mutant person. So whether it's
is that a statement, or is that about the muscles that you like?
I mean, it's kind of both, right? So like the fiction of the X-Men and the kind of mutants in Marvel has always been something I found really interesting. So I gravitate toward them, right? So again, it's a lot of X-Men. I also really love the Servants of Apocalypse affiliation. That has been a ton of fun. And I've dabbled in the Brotherhood of Mutants in Weapon X. I think there's one more I'm forgetting, but yeah, I don't think I've actually. No, sorry, I played one game in
X-Force, and you got X-Force. I know you play X-Force.
Yes, yeah, thank you, X-Force. I think I played 3 games total that were not a mutant faction, and I felt really dirty afterwards. So I
had to take a shower.
But yeah,
couldn't look
really
himself in the mirror.
Yeah,
wild. All right, well, that's the background. Omar, we're super happy to have you here. For better or worse, we're gonna have Omar on lots of different episodes coming up. So you guys will kind of see the recurring dream team of some formulation of myself and Omar and Shane in these videos. So you guys are stuck with him as well, but he's great. I love him. I wouldn't have him here if I didn't love him. So welcome to the planet, Mr. Omar. Glad to have you here, bud. Gentlemen, let's get into it, yeah? The brass tacks of why we're here today, why we've gathered. Also, hi, Shane. How are you? Sorry.
I am fine, internets. How are you?
There you go. That's Shane's intro, thrown right on the back. Don't worry, Shane. I still love you too, man. All right, so let's get down to Bragg's task about why we're here. So this is the first video that you guys are going to see from us doing this, but certainly will not be the last. It's basically a model highlight or a model overview. Like you guys heard from us when we did our initial tier list, our intention here is to, as a group of tournament-minded, competitive play-focused players, kind of give our 2 cents on things that we believe will impact the general meta and play framework of Marvel Crisis Protocol. One of those obvious things to do is kind of an updated affiliation tier list that's tethered to data analytics and tournament results, where you saw that from us. You've already seen that affiliation list episode. Another episode that is either coming up or has already been produced, I don't know which one is going to get edited first, but we've done our current favorite 10 tactics cards in the game. So we're going to be doing stuff like that. This particular video is focusing on Jean Grey, the Phoenix, and we're going to talk about her card. We're going to talk about the model itself, how it fits into the overall meta, not necessarily in its native affiliation only, but also how we believe it might affect outside of her affiliation play. And then we're going to do a wrap up with any hot takes or nonsense that we think. And you'll see this, like I said, on new boxes from us fairly frequently. So I hope you guys enjoy it. If you have any thoughts or comments or whatever you want in the comments section, throw them down there. If you guys like our content, if you guys like our Marvel Crisis Protocol stuff, please like and subscribe. We're a very, very small indie YouTube channel. The money we make from this YouTube channel doesn't even cover the costs of our software that we use to make our videos. So please help us out if you like us. The support means the world to us. So guys, let's start with just kind of, before we go like super deep into the meta kind of effect of this model, why don't we just go over what this model is, right? Do one of you guys want to just give us kind of a tour of the front of this card, and then one of you guys give us a tour of the back of this card, and then I think we can kind of start the roundtable discussion. I think that makes the most sense. So Omar, Shane, which one of you wants to take the front and which one of you wants to take the back? It did not mean to come out that way. I'm sorry, the internet.
We're gonna tag team it tonight. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
All right, phrasing, I guess, on myself. Jeez, holy yikes.
At least you didn't ask us who was gonna Eiffel Tower.
Yeah. All right. Who of you wants to take the front here, gentlemen, or the front side of the card?
I'll take the front side and leave the juicy special for our special guest.
Sure, yeah, to Omar. All right,
you.
Shane, give us the context here on kind of the initial front side, how it fits into a general idea. Kind of give us the 101 on this here, please.
Yeah, so Jean Grey, Phoenix, on the front side, defensive stats 445. It's fine. She's got no other defensive tech, so it's just fine. 7 hit points. Hit points is one of, if not the best defensive tech, so that's pretty good. When you compare her to the other 6 threats, maybe that's a little bit low, but we'll see why when we get to Omar. Attack-wise, she's throwing a range 3 6-die builder. Damage for power dealt, power for damage dealt, wild incinerate. Nothing really special here. It's probably a little bit lame for a 6 threat. She has a range 3 area attack, 6-die spender, which costs 6 power. Allied characters in that range 3 area, instead of suffering damage, may, not have to, heal one. That's really interesting. It's something that I've pulled off a couple of times, and I wouldn't say it swung games, but it's definitely helped. That coupled with her superpower, Rejuvenating Flames, down below, which is a 2-cost superpower. Choose an allied character within range 3, they heal up to 2. If you've got the power to do both of these, like you spiked an attack, you got fed some power from a power leadership, whatever, it can be really cool. You heal somebody 3, heal maybe a couple other people 1 or 2, and you're ready to go. So one of her very unique, very cool superpowers is she's got a 3-cost throw, size 5 character or size 4 terrain within 2, throw it medium. This on the front of her card to me is the real juice. Like, nobody else in the game is throwing size 5 people. And that uniqueness to me is just really cool. I'm glad they put it on a card. It's interesting that it's on her card and not like a Thor or somebody like that who's known as a big thrower. Jean, you see her in the comics or on the TV show with the telekinesis, but it's not like huge stuff usually. So it's pretty cool. She's got Burning Resolve. This is similar to the regular Jean Grey. 3 cost. If an allied character within 3 would be advanced, placed, or pushed, she can spend that 3 power. They're not. I found this always very difficult to want to save the power because she's got other good things to spend power on. So I feel like it's a little anti-synergistic, but I think when you've got some power leadership and stuff feeding some power into her, you can definitely use it to save some victory points or to stop a character from getting kidnapped. The fact that it doesn't work on throws is a little sad times, but you can't get everything you want.
How much anti-kidnap tech exists in the game, right? Like, it doesn't strike me that there's too much of it in general.
No,
right?
There's not a ton of it, and when it's there, it's really good.
Yeah, when it's relevant, it's like ridiculously good, right? Because there's some crews that they want to pull you out of position and beat you to death, and that's a song about as old as time, right? Like, that happens in a lot of war games and can be brutal if that happens to you.
It's only on a couple of models, and it's interesting that both of the Jean Grey models have that tech. Yeah. So they clearly kind of consider it core to the character, and it's one of those situations where it's really good when you need it, and when you don't, it's just wasted text, right?
Doesn't do anything.
It's very kind of swingy, but it easily will win you a game when it comes up.
Yeah, I just found on the front side, I always had a hard time, unless I got a really lucky spike, I always had a hard time justifying the throw, justifying the heal. Like, how much power am I going to be able to spend in a turn? And this, I don't know. If nobody gets pushed, then I saved the power for nothing, and I could have done a throw. Where am I sitting? So it's a hard risk versus reward play style.
Yeah, I don't think that that's completely unreasonable. The interesting part of this 6-cost model is that it has a very different backside. In fact, I literally remember when I was prepping for this video, let's say it wasn't just 10 minutes ago, right? Let's say my life is more planned out than that, wink wink. And I was like on the phone with you guys and I was like, what the fuck? Like, after flipping this card around and looking at it, it's like, because you guys have at least play tested this and run a couple through games with it. I actually haven't. So for me, this is very enlightening listening to you guys wax poetic. But Omar, you want to give us a rundown of Phoenix Unleashed, and then we can, I think, get into like the meat and potatoes of the conversation.
So before that, I think we have to talk about her last superpower.
Oh yeah, my bad. I jumped the gun on that. Yeah.
I Am Fire and Life Incarnate is easy, weird. When one of your allied non-grunt characters is dazed or KO'd, she gains a Phoenix token. Mm-hmm. When she would be dazed, she gains 3 Phoenix tokens. If she's got 3 or more Phoenix tokens at the start of your turn, doesn't matter if she's already got an activation check on her. If it's at the start of your turn, she's got 3 or more, boom, she flips over.
Yeah, she flips out.
If she would flip her stat card because somebody did the 7 damage to her, also she would flip over. You place that Phoenix Unleashed within 2 of her model. It's now part of your squad. You get to keep all your power. You keep your activated token. You keep all your Phoenix tokens. You do not drop extracts, anything like that. And you remove her from the battlefield, and now you have Phoenix Unleashed.
It's like a transform ability, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the biggest other components are just the Nexus, which is power phase, gain an additional, and she has immunity to incinerate and poison, which is good in fight, right? And then that's like the majority of this young lady's card, I would imagine.
For me, the big takeaway on this side of the card, at least, is that there's nothing here that gives her movement. There's no action compression, there's no movement. So unless she is starting in range, and range 3 is fine, but it's not amazing in terms of distance covered, she is going to have to walk and then make her attack. That is rough on a 6 threat. That's really not something you want to do. And there are ways to get around it with kind of supporting pieces. But that is always something you kind of have to look out for, right? Like, at the best case scenario, she is costing you at least 30% of your kind of roster value, right? The highest threat level in the game is 20, and she is 6 threat. So that is a huge kind of percentage of it. And unless things are starting, in a great situation, she's walking and she's making an attack. So I think that is definitely something to kind of keep in mind. And the only kind of upside to that is she has one of the best throws in the game. I know Shane kind of mentioned it, but it is incredibly rare that something can move a size 5 model, and there's not a ton of them, but there's always something that can be added later on, so it's really kind of good future-proofing. Obviously, the fact that you can also throw terrain is great, and it's a medium throw. There are a lot of short throws in this game that are not nearly as effective as you want them to be, so yeah, I genuinely think that you want to make her throw every single activation she has because it's so impactful, and she needs to make up for the fact that, again, she's often kind of walking and attacking unless you're carrying her around with some other model.
Yeah, you make a really good point about, like, it's a very pricey model, and regardless of any war game I play, right, one of the things I look at when I look at a pricey model, and when I say pricey model, what I mean is a model that is going to take up a statistically significant chunk of your hiring ducats. Like Omar literally explained it here, right? Like, this model is at least a quarter of your team, no matter how you slice it, right? And that's if you're like 20 threat, but most games aren't played at 20 threat. So like, you're looking for action compression, you're looking for out of activation movement, you're looking for ways this model can get up the table without having to directly use its AP, because generally you're wanting to use its AP for its big powerful abilities and not for basic, transportation of itself. Is that fair to say, Omar, I think, from like a takeaway standpoint?
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, to really get bang for your buck, you want to be making 2 attacks a turn and a couple superpowers, because again, it's just, that's what you're paying for. So you really want to do that. And again, she's a model that spends power incredibly well. Anything from 3 power to 10 power, she can spend it happily.
And you want her to be triggering those. Yeah,
exactly. Right? That kind of like healing ability is pretty rare in MCP, and it is just incredibly powerful. So yeah, I definitely think that if you can engineer a situation where she starts her activation with 8 power, she's going to
has a buddy help her get her up the map. That's also really good for her.
She'll have a kind of wonderful activation. I think she's great. And also, because it matters when she flips, I will say that she is size 2, and she is on a small base, and she moves medium. Because, spoiler alert, none of those things are the same on her other side.
None of those things are the same when she transforms. All right, before we talk about the flip side, Shane, do you have any takeaways, high level, about like this side of her model at least?
Yeah, so one quick clarification, she does drop objective tokens. I misspoke. So sorry.
How dare you? How dare you? It's over.
I gave you bad information.
You're kicked off.
But yeah, other than that, it's really sad when she gets displaced. So if the opponent has somebody who can displace, she has to save the 3 power. If they have somebody who's going to throw her, there's just nothing she can do. So like Omar, I like escort models with her. And I feel like it's almost necessary, which brings her to like a 9-point character. which makes it tough sometimes to get value out of it.
Yeah, it's a
But
lot of
that
your list.
throw is so good. There's not a lot of big throws in her affiliation, because she's only affiliated for Uncanny X-Men, so there's no other big throws there. And she
have
is
Bishop,
doing,
which has a very similar throw. It's only size 4, but he's also like a very tech picky model, so it immediately kind of changes the landscape that she has an even better throw than he does.
Yeah, for sure. For the models you're seeing a lot of the time, nobody's throwing size 5, but the size 4 throw is rare, especially for the models that are heavily seen inside of the faction. Cable's spending a lot for it. Like you said, Bishop, like her, has some problems with getting displaced and stuff. So it's just unique and cool, and it's good to see that size 5 model coming back.
Okay, fair enough. Omar, are you emotionally and spiritually prepared to talk about the transformation of Jean Grey into Phoenix Unleashed?
Let's do it.
All right, take it away, my friend.
Okay, so on her flip side, she is 4 physical defense, 5 energy, 3 mystic. That's fine. I know it's slightly different on the front side. In general, defense dice are not the best defensive measure, like Shane mentioned, so it's fine. Obviously more is better, but she has 10 health on her backside, which is incredible. It's a little bit undercut by something we'll see later, but just as a pure stat line, it's great. She is size 4, she is on a large base, and she moves slow. That is a huge difference. So from going from a size 2 to a size 4, it means she's getting cover much less frequently. She's going to have it's much easier to kind of get line of sight on her, and her ability to kind of position well is going to be limited because of that short. Right? So it's a very kind of serious change. It increases the chance of her just not wanting to move at all, which is already kind of something that happened on her front side. Yes. So her first attack, which is not a gainer or a builder, which is unusual, is Phoenix Blast. It is range 4, 6 power, 0 cost, and it has a kind of cool special rule where essentially when you're creating the dice pool for this attack, you can choose a terrain piece, either size 2, 3, or 4, within range 4 of her, and destroy it. And then you get to add the amount of dice equal to the size of that piece of terrain to the attack. So if you destroy a size 3 piece, you're adding 3 dice, so you're getting a 9 dice attack. That's pretty incredible. And then there's a second special rule where if you have none of her, what do they call them again? They're flame pillars. None of them on the board.
You've got giant piles of fire with a specific technical name.
Yeah. So you get to place it within 4 of her once she finishes making that attack. And that'll come up later, but that's really cool. She's, I think, the second model in the game that has non-grunt little additions that they can kind of add.
It says here it's categorized as a size 1 interactive terrain feature, technically, right?
Yes, so it is a size 1 piece of terrain, so that the size 1 is relevant because it's something that she can't destroy in order to add more dice, and also anyone who has any kind of throw, or at least for terrain throw, can throw a size 1, right? Yeah. And then at the end of her attack, she gains a Phoenix token. So it's the same Phoenix token she had on her front side, and she has a similar mechanic on the back side in terms of how that affects her ability to stay alive. All right. Her second attack is a big spender. It's a beam range 4, 8 dice, 6 power, which is very expensive, and 6 power is an interesting cutoff because models have a max of 10 power, so it's very, very difficult to ever do this twice in one activation. You have to do some wonky stuff to make it possible. Anyway, it says that after each attack is resolved in the beam, if the target character is not dazed or KO'd, this character loses a Phoenix token. So as far as we are right now, this is the only way she can lose a Phoenix token, even from her front side. Again, that's big because we know that they hurt her. She also has an ability to reroll dice. It's called Temporal Domination. It's a once per turn attacking or defending, 0 power. She can reroll up to 3 dice. It adds another Phoenix token to her pile. This is a really cool ability. It kind of changes her economy from being more power based to more Phoenix token based, which makes her a pretty unique character. And then she has a series of innate powers. The first one being All Are Beneath Me. Essentially, what this means is you can measure your attacks from those flame pillars that she can make from her initial attack. And what's crazy about that is you can measure them from range 4, and then the attack itself is range 4. That is a huge distance across the board. It's one of the few ways she has to not have to use walk actions, because she can kind of reposition where those attacks are coming from, which is a cool mechanic, and also it's very powerful. It kind of costs your opponent a lot of mental energy to keep in mind where all these attacks could be coming from. And then if you do make an attack through it, the pillar is destroyed, but everyone who is hit by that attack gets the Incinerate condition. Incinerate is a great condition.
It's a great condition to hand out. I hate it as a Web Warriors player, I'll tell you that much.
Everyone hates it, right? It's one of the most powerful kind of conditions to inflict damage to someone. And then her big kind of ability that affects her Phoenix tokens is Untamed Cosmic Entity. And I'll break it down quickly. The first part essentially says she gets no power in the power phase outside of getting power from the amount of Phoenix tokens she has. Right? So assuming she flips with 0 power and 3 Phoenix tokens, she will start the activation phase with 3 power. If she had 6 Phoenix tokens, she'll have 6 power. That's really important because she has no way of gaining power from any of her attacks or abilities. So outside of getting hit or some other outside force that can give her power, she is not able to increase her power economy on her turn. The other big one is very similar to the her backside, or sorry, her front side, where every time a non-grunt ally is dazed or KO'd, she gains a Phoenix token. She has another way of removing it, where every time she dazes or KOs a model, she removes the Phoenix token. So that theoretically means her initial attack, the Phoenix Blast, can be Phoenix token neutral. You would gain an attack by making gain a token by making the attack, and then lose it if you daze or KO that model. That's pretty useful. By far the most interesting thing about this, though, is what happens when she has 5 or more at the end of her activation. She essentially goes supernova. Me and Shane played a game, I think it was yesterday, maybe the day before. This actually happened and wound up killing, I think, 4 models.
That's awesome.
Yeah, this is the kind of showpiece ability. I honestly think her whole card was designed around this. But basically what happens is, if at the end of her activation, when she has 5 or more of these Phoenix tokens, she will die. She will explode in a radius of range 5 around her. So for the amount of Phoenix tokens she has, she will roll that many dice. So if she has 7, she'll roll 7 dice. For every hit, crit, and wild in that roll, every model within range 5 takes that much damage. And then every piece of terrain that was of the size or smaller than the number of dice she rolled, and therefore the number of Phoenix tokens she had, will be destroyed.
Which is going to be like every terrain feature, right? It's like a black hole triggering, basically. It's insanely awesome.
This is a nuclear blast happening in the center of the game. It's so cool. And hit, crit, wild is a lot of dice, right? So if you're rolling 4 or 5, you're averaging somewhere around 3. That's a lot of damage, especially kind of later on in the game where everyone is kind of limping toward their kind of victory state. It's an incredibly cool ability. It's very powerful, but I think it kind of limits what you can do because your opponent can trigger it, not you.
But just to be clear, I want to call this out for how absurd this is. Range 5 in Marvel Crisis Protocol is 10 inches dash 254 millimeters, correct?
Yeah.
So we're talking about a radial distance off of a large base of 23.5-ish, 24 inches.
You are talking,
if we're talking
320 square inches. Think about that.
It's like a third of the board, literally.
Yeah.
And it's probably centralized somewhere. So it's like like a third of the board is going supernova when this happens. Like let's just take a second and kind of, appreciate that here, because that's flippin' crazy. Like that, every piece of terrain, most models are just gonna die. I do think the most interesting thing that Omar said, though, it was right at the end, right before I butted in, is like, your opponent can trigger this, which is, I don't know. I'll let you finish the card here, and then we can get into the theory craft stuff here. But because we've got one little last line, but I want to dig into that right when you're done here.
So the other thing, just some kind of innate immunity. She has flight, which is great. Doesn't hugely affect her because she's size 4, but she's immune to incinerate, poison, stagger, and stun. Incinerate poison is great, but as far as I'm concerned, the big immunities are stagger and stun. Stun hurts her power economy hugely, and stagger just takes away an actual action from her, right? That is huge.
And having incinerate immunity is great.
Yeah, it's always great. She's a weird model in the sense that I feel like she is rarely going to die because someone takes away her health. It is often going to be a combination of how many tokens she generates on her turn and how many tokens her opponent can force her to generate. So yeah, I think like that's the crux of the issue, right? It's a really interesting card. It's doing things that no other card can do, but the cost of that is giving your opponent ownership of her
your joint agency.
Yeah, and that is a very difficult process to make still valuable as the player bringing her.
Yeah, joint agency is a scary proposition, especially on a model that you will have paid 6 points for and will likely be a centerpiece of your crew.
Yeah.
What do you got, Shane? What are your thoughts here?
My experience with her is that it's not as much joint agency. Yeah, there's agency if they kill her, right? Like they can always pump a number of attacks into her and get her dead. But she has enough ways on her card to control the Phoenix tokens that I've always found it's my decision whether I want to blow her up or not.
That's interesting to hear, honestly. I would have thought that it would have been a lot more, like you guys have actual reps with her and games with her. My mind's eye is just like an extremely clever, articulate, dashingly handsome opponent would like, try to explode this hoe in your face.
So you're not taking that many models with her, right? She is a 6 cost. So you've got maybe 3 friends with her. 4 wide with a 6 cost model is usually pretty decent. Sometimes you can go 5 wide. That's difficult. So how many of your characters are getting dazed? If that many of your characters are getting dazed after she flips, something has gone horribly wrong and you've lost the game anyway. Right?
Yeah, that's fair. Sure, that's fair.
If she's last man standing, she's not winning the game for you. So you can do this beam, not beam, beam, not beam, kill the character. Okay, with Phoenix Blast, if I'm destroying a size 4 terrain piece and making it a 10-die attack, the chances that I gain a Phoenix token but then lose a Phoenix token because I KO'd a character or dazed a character are pretty high. So it's usually like net neutral, where the beam is a loss because of the way at the beginning of the power phase you get power, the 1 power for being a person and then 1 power for each Phoenix token, which is going to be at least 3 the first time you flip. So she's gaining 4 power right off of the rip minimum. I found she always has enough to be able to do the beam if she would like to. The reroll is a little bit wonky, and you definitely have to decide when and when not to use it, depending on blowing up. But I found the beam, you can get it off often enough, and you're dazing characters often enough that you can kind of control what's going on.
Interesting.
So I think it's a question of soft control versus hard control. I agree with you that at the end of the day, but by virtue of the fact that on her turn, she can generate 3 Phoenix tokens herself without needing all too much opponent interaction. She just needs to target these enemies and then use the reroll ones. She gets to decide when she eventually blows up, and eventually I'm giving her a little too much credit, when she blows up. But I also think that your opponent can force you into either activating her at an inopportune time, or force her into making a beam attack or making a number of attacks that she doesn't necessarily want to make because she is at risk of exploding otherwise, right? Like if she's starting her turn with, let's say, kind of 3 of those Phoenix tokens, that means that if she does her Phoenix Blast attack, she's gain 1 automatically. If she does rerolls, she's getting another one automatically, and then she's now threatening to blow up, right? So as an opponent, my job is to make sure that she can't make a regular Phoenix Blast attack, reroll, and do a beam, and not blow up, right? So yeah, it's not as kind of easy to say as, well, I'm just going to do A, B, and C to her, and then I win, right? It's not nearly that black and white, but it is much more influence I as an opponent can have on how she plays than most other 6 threats in the game. The kind of classic example is Hulk. 6 threat Hulk is one of the best models in the game, and he can be threatened by the opponent and therefore kind of be controlled in a manner, but he's also impacting the game in a much more kind of direct way. So that's kind of the balancing act I'm thinking in my head. And again, that may not be the fairest. Hulk is one of the best models in the game, so measuring against that, most people are going to kind of fall short. But that's what kind of makes me nervous. And the few times I've played against her, that was always been my intention, to make it as difficult as possible for my opponent to get good activations out of her, because they are constantly keeping an eye on that Phoenix token economy.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good call out, but I think we're seeing that with Gladiator as well. I think the design philosophy on 6 threats has shifted from the Hulk model or the Hulk style of just big guy run forward to this more intricate play style of you have to balance these tokens, you have to balance this other mechanic, and the opponent, because of the board state, can sometimes force when you want to go or not go with that person.
Which I think is a healthy place to be, right? Because if you are set in the design philosophy of big guy push forward bash face, and that's all you do for these big type of 6 threats, you end up with in my opinion, kind of unavoidable level of power creep that then kind of will permeate as a trickle-down effect throughout the rest of the game. So at least for me personally, we're talking about Gladiator, we're talking about, Phoenix, we're talking about these like Omega level universe threats that are playable in your team. I really am excited to see them go with this type of direction for 6 threats, rather than just trying to make a bigger, better version of the Hulk, because that is true just power creep. Like, if you were to just kind of keep jamming that button over and over again and just making it incrementally better, I don't think that would be super healthy for the game, if I'm being honest with you.
No, we even saw some of that with King Black Bolt, because King Black Bolt has the telepathic command ability where he's able to choose an allied character and advance them short. So this kind of action compression that he adds to somebody else, similar to Phoenix and Gladiator, is just another resource that you have to manage, that if there's nobody else who's in range of stuff and Black Bolt needs to move them forward so that they are in range to do stuff, then you force that activation early. I think it's just a different way that they're going about it than they are with like Gladiator's tokens or Phoenix's tokens.
It's cool. I like to see them do that. So I think we've done a good job of just like kind of explaining what the cards are to people front and the back. I figured this section it can be a little bit more like speculative and kind of musing, right? Talking about how we think this model is going to play, how we think it's going to affect the meta. And I think another thing, Shane, that you called out while we were kind of doing our notes session for this, which is good, is we should definitely talk about how specifically she's going to fit into X-Men style lists. And then another thing that I think I'm really interested in talking to you guys about is how you see her fitting into non-X-Men lists. And then I think one other thing we want to at least touch on, we don't need to go through each one, but I think it's fair to touch on these team tactics cards, because she comes with what, 5 of them, I think? So,
2 of them are old ones, and 3 of them are new.
yeah, I mean, we again, like I said, I think we can kind of weave this into the meta conversation. But I think a decent place to start is to talk about how she fits into the shell of her home affiliation, which is Uncanny X-Men, and then I think we talk about how she fits into the non-Uncanny X-Men shells. So do one of you guys want to take the lead on kind of your initial thoughts on, Miss Gray here in Uncanny X-Men shells?
I'll take the X-Men.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
The
So
X-Men player takes the X-Men. Sure.
for some context, there are currently 3 X-Men leaders. You have Storm, you have Cyclops, you have Professor X. I won't go into too much details, this isn't the right place, but essentially Storm is a movement-based leadership. Cyclops and Professor X are both 2 different styles of power leaderships, right? So they get to move power around, and Storm gets to move models around. Again, in a very kind of general sense. So I have personally tried her with Cyclops because he solves, again, one of the 2 problems we were talking about, the movement and power, especially power on the backside, to make sure that come hell or high water, she always gets to throw that beam and therefore can remove Phoenix tokens. And it's interesting because she gives out Incinerate on both sides, which is great for a leadership that has to make attacks to kind of get value. Cyclops has Field Leader, which is an ability to move an allied model, which is great. And she brings a certain amount of control that Cyclops doesn't normally have. So again, we talk about her throw is incredible. Her ability to just destroy terrain in general is incredible, which is great because X-Men don't have amazing terrain throwers. That is a kind of a huge boon. It is. Cyclops himself is a relatively squishy model, and all things considered, Phoenix herself a relatively squishy model. So that's 10 threat that doesn't necessarily want to get punched in the face. And for better or for worse, a lot of MCP is who can get punched in the face better, right? It kind of boils down to that at a certain level.
A lot of life is who can get punched in the face better, Omar. Jeez, we get real existential with this bad boy right here,
And so I think that's a pretty good home for her. And I think the other big home for her, in X-Men at least, is Storm, because it offers her tons of movement, with the caveat that she can't be holding an extract, but for the most part, she doesn't really want to because she drops it on her flip anyway, so it's not great. But especially on her backside when she's a large base, the Storm Hop gets exponentially better the larger the base size is involved in it, so that is huge for her. So I think Storm is. Do
you want to take a second just to, because there might be some people on the internet that don't understand what you're saying, and this concept is critical.
Sure. Yeah.
Do you want me to do it, or you want to do it? One of us should just give a quick context on this.
I'll happily kind of break it down. So okay. The Storm Hop is the kind of colloquial term for the Storm leadership, or at least the first part of it. Essentially what it does is once per turn, an allied model that is not holding an extract, if they're within 2 of a friendly model, they can pay 1 power and then be moved within 1 of that friendly model. So the way that essentially works is you are getting a ton of movement because MCP measures bases front to back. So again, if you're going from a medium base, hopping on a medium base, that is 6 inches easy. If you're going large base to large base, that's a little bit more, right? So that is a huge amount of movement. It does not cost an action, it costs a power. Only 1 person can use it per round, so that's a point to keep in mind. But this is your 6-threat model.
Yeah,
she's
probably Jean using it.
Yeah, right. And even the front side Jean can use it pretty well. One of the kind of classic uses for that particular leadership is you set someone up in kind of optimal range, so exactly within 2 in a direction you want to hop. Then your kind of key model will hop, and they are now in range to make 2 attacks. Whereas before they would have to spend an action walking, right? So you're kind of gaining yourself action economy by doing it. So yeah, I think she really likes that home as well. The other kind of big thing I'll say about X-Men is they have 2 really great tactical cards for her. The first being Team My X-Men, which again essentially allows you to move 1 or more of your models, depending on how much power you want to spend, toward your leader. So again, free out of activation movement, always super helpful. And then Xavier's Gene, which is a card that lets you negate damage per power spent. That's incredibly powerful. So that helps her certainly, but also helps prevent your opponent from dazing your friends and therefore gaining more kind of Phoenix tokens. I really think kind of controlling that Phoenix token economy is going to be super critical for her, and that is a great way to do it. The other leadership the X-Men have is Professor X, which is easily one of the best powership leaderships in the game. Essentially how it works is once per turn, when a character spends at least one power on a superpower, they can pass a power to another ally on the board. So it's essentially a power rebate that can move around, no distance restrictions, and it works for both active and reactive powers, so you can kind of do that power sharing on your opponent's turn as well. That's a great way to kind of make power really kind of work for you. It's also a great way to kind of flood a particular model with power, and she's a great example for that. My only issue there is, again, kind of like Cyclops, Professor X is really, really bad at getting punched in the face. Like, I cannot emphasize how bad is getting punched in the face.
I cannot emphasize how much you should not hit the cripple, because it is not okay.
Yeah, it's so like that makes me a little bit nervous having 10 threat in that, but I think in terms of just if your goal is, hey, I'm gonna load up this woman with as much power as possible and have her burn the world down, it's kind of hard to go a different direction than Professor X.
Yeah, I think that's a very reasonable oversight. I mean, one of the things I want to talk to you a little about here, Omar, is you made a point already, right? Like, this is a 6-point model, right? I agree with you 100% that her best home is Storm, because oh boy, that's a lot of free movement every turn, and oh boy, do I not want to be spending my AP allocation on movement with this 6-point model. We've covered that, right? What in your mind, let's say, we're playing a Storm list and we have Jean Grey, and we know that we're playing Storm and Jean Grey. What are some other models that you would look to as a savvy X-Men player that you would include in that list, and why?
That's a good question. So off the top of my head, I'm going to give some kind of classic examples. I think Beast is a great option here. One, because he brings a medium-sized base, so that kind of really helps with the Storm hop. Also, he's a relatively cheap model. Loves getting punched in the face. Also loves carrying extracts, right? It kind of solves both those problems that carrying Jean brings you. Another good example would be someone like Laura Kenny, or X-23, right? aka X-23. She is a very aggressive, very kind of hostile 3-threat model who kind of routinely punches above her weight.
Love X-23. I love that girl.
One of my favorite models in the game.
Yeah, she's awesome.
She lets you put pressure on the opponent, which inherently makes it harder for your opponent to put pressure on you, right? If she's kind of cutting people's ankles open, then it's very difficult for those same models to then be threatening your kind of more static and more kind of, concerning models like Storm, even like Jean herself. And then the other kind of big one I would kind of throw out there is Colossus, who very recently got a wonderful glow up. I love that man, but he brings both damage reduction and a taunt, so he can redirect attacks toward him. That's incredible, especially again in an affiliation like X-Men, who are relatively squishy. So that really helps kind of keeps things alive. His ability to kind of redirect attacks has a kind of lingering effect on your opponent's decision making, and I think he would really kind of help keep Jean Grey and a lot of the kind of smaller X-Men models who normally kind of play the scenario game that X-Men like to play alive in order to kind of do their job.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Just in the interest of time, Mr. Omar, because we're almost at our 1-hour goal here, I'm going to throw it over to Shane. Mr. Shane, can you talk to us a bit about Phoenix in out of affiliation link lists, and or kind of the general expectation that you can have if you're looking to play this as a non-Uncanny X-Men model, and ways that you think could be successful out there in the wild while doing so?
Yeah, I think the first one that I would tap in is Sam Wilson. It's one of the best leaderships in the game. We've seen it do well time after time after time. But when somebody else gets dazed, not only does she get the Phoenix token, but she gets the free advance.
More free movement.
Yep. Removing the damage, whatever, removing the special condition on the front side. She's not immune to stagger, so that could be relevant, but it's mostly the advance, right? So it helps her with that displacement that somebody's going to be giving her. So I think it's a good call out. There's a couple other spots I like Malekith is a little bit of a steamroll leadership where if she's killing stuff and doing well, she can move forward and kill some more. That might be cool. There's definitely some play there where she could get some good things going. Nick Fury inside of the shield, she can add to that gun line that they're kind of looking, because she's that mid-range brawler where now you're kind of safe taking the Hawkeyes and stuff that might die easily, because does the other person really want to go after him? Eye in the Sky might give you some cheeky movement when you need it. So those are some places that I was looking at her in. Obviously, any of the leaderships that are going to give rerolls and stuff are fine, but she needs the help in the other ways, and those are some spots that I was looking at her.
That makes sense. Do we want to talk about just any and or all of the crisis cards that stand out to either of you guys? Any thoughts on the
cards?
Yeah, sorry, I call them crisis cards because I'm an idiot. The tactics cards.
Why don't we do a quick take? I'll do a quick take, and then Omar can pick it up and see if he agrees, disagrees.
Sounds good.
I Am Reborn. When she would be dazed, she plays the card, no cost. Push all characters within 2 of Phoenix away short. Those push characters gain the Incinerate. It pushes friendlies. I think this is a card to take to your game shop, but not one I would consider for competitive play.
Yeah,
Omar, what do you think?
I'm in full agreement. That one other thing I'll point out is when she flips because of having too many Phoenix tokens, that doesn't count as dazed, so this card won't trigger. So it's a real interesting collection of words on this particular card.
Yeah, like it's one of those like, okay, I check it off on my bingo chart that I got that thing done, and we'll move on.
Yeah, fair enough. And then,
White Hot Room, when Phoenix Unleashed would be KO'd, she could play the card. You put 2 power on the card. During the power phase, remove 1 power from the card. When the last power is removed, you place Phoenix, not Phoenix Unleashed, within 2 of it. Now Phoenix is part of your squad. I don't know, like, when is Phoenix Unleashed getting KO'd? It's at least minimum turn 2, so she doesn't come back until turn 4. Like, I just don't see it. Like, you've probably already lost the game by that point. You're probably better off taking a card that's going to help her live somehow.
It's a trap card, and it's a trap I am going to willingly jump into multiple times because it's so the payoff is so great. But yeah, I agree with you. Essentially, you're waiting a full like a turn and a half, essentially, depending on when she originally gets removed, to bring her back. That is huge, especially in kind of current MCP where most games are done by turn 4. Most games are kind of decided by turn 3. So having her come back on turn 4, turn 5, it's just too slow. And I don't think the solution is to make her come back sooner, because this is such a powerful effect that if it comes back too soon, it just breaks the game up.
Game breaking.
So yeah, I think this is a really interesting card. Like I said, I'm going to be chasing that particular dragon many a time. But yeah, I think for a competitive perspective, it's just not worth it.
No.
Yeah, so the other new card is Flames of Life. During her activation, she can discard a Phoenix token to play it. Choose any number of enemy characters with Incinerate. Each chosen character loses the Incinerate condition. For everybody who lost it, you choose a different allied character to remove 1 damage and gain a power. So this is a way during her activation, as Phoenix, she could get a little bit more healing in. If the power gain was during Phoenix Unleashed, I would like this card better. If she plays it when she's Phoenix Unleashed, she gains a Phoenix token, and each character within 2 of a flame pillar, friendly and enemy, or within 2 of her, gains Incinerate. She gains a power for each character that gained Incinerate that way. Yeah, this one you can gain power during Phoenix Unleashed turn, which might be cool, but you're harming your friendlies to probably do it, which sets up an interesting conundrum. And again, I'm not sure that this card is applicable enough that it's just better than something else you could take.
I think this one is on the cusp. I agree with you that it's not... the overall effects are not great, but the ability to play with the Phoenix token economy, I think, is interesting, especially on the kind of front side. The ability to gain extra power on Phoenix Unleashed is good. I agree with you that incinerating your own people is probably not worth it. But if I were to say of the cards in the new box, this would be the one I would kind of test the most from a competitive perspective. This is the one I would definitely bring to a couple of games just to kind of see, hey, how does this feel, right? It's not immediately strong, but I think there's potential legs here.
So I think if the discard and gain were flipped, so if she gained one when she was Phoenix or discarded one when she was Phoenix Unleashed, I would like it a lot better. But you're moving her in the wrong direction for your Phoenix token economy than you want to be. Yeah, I just don't see it.
It's only worth it on Unleashed if the extra power takes you from going to not being able to make a beam to being able to make a beam. That's the only way I'd ever play it on Phoenix Unleashed, which again is not great. Yeah, it's a weird card. I will say though, this is the kind of card that if the original model herself gets a change, this card immediately kind of becomes very interesting. I think this card is actually a pretty powerful card, kind of gate kept by the complications of the model, and I think as soon as that changes, it becomes immediately more fun to tinker with. That's a long way out, theoretically.
Yeah. I also think this type of attitude is so core to get to wargaming. Like get out there and test it. Omar's like, I'm a test this. We'll see. Like I wish more people kind of just took that type of attitude to stuff. I mean, you do too, Shane. To be honest, you pick stuff up and try to break it or play with it all the time. I feel like that's a very healthy perspective to take. Gentlemen, we are rapidly approaching the 1 hour mark here on this model overview. So I feel like this is a reasonable time to, unless you have other stuff you want to talk about, I think, do you got either of you, I guess, and both of you, do you have some wrap-up thoughts generally on your perspective on the model, how you feel the model fits into the existing Marvel Crisis Protocol meta, and, one section forward from that, how you feel this model will impact the Marvel Crisis Protocol meta, and any just kind of closing thoughts, I think, for each of you. Whoever you wants to throw your hat in the ring first and start.
Do you want to go, Shane?
Sure, I'll start off and leave you with the final thoughts. So, I think she's a really cool and flavorful character. I think if you are looking to relive your X-Men 97 dreams, then she's really cool, right? She exudes a ton of flavor. Her backside is this complex machine that you're constantly having to think about. If you're playing in a timed environment, I wouldn't play her for the first time in a timed environment. Because you will sit there on her backside and go like, oh my god, what should I do? What should I do? What should I do? Do I gain tokens? Do I lose tokens? Do I gain tokens? Do I lose tokens? All right, I'm going to activate Nightcrawler. So there's definitely a lot in there to take in. But she's really fun. You get her on the table, and if you like those mental gymnastics, she is a absolute ton of fun. You can play her like Omar said. We played a game just the other day where I blew her up on purpose in order to try and crawl back into a game that I was losing by just 1 or 2 points, that I was down enough, I was just never going to be able to come back. And she gave me that option. It didn't work out for me. I only rolled 2 out of my 6 tokens instead of 3 out of my 6 tokens. If I get the third one, I win the game. So it was a really like push your luck mechanic that I got into, which was really cool.
Yeah, it's a really cool. It's just such a unique gameplay. It's such a unique gameplay loop that it's cool, and I love to see experimentation on this with big 6-cost threats, because like I said, otherwise we just end up in a knifey spoony race of who's got the bigger knife and who's got the bigger 6-cost Hulk model, right? And I would hate to see that become what MCP becomes. So, all right, Omar, you got the last word here. What do you got, bud?
Yeah, so I think she is the perfect model to bring in a new place, a new game store against new players, because I think she kind of exemplifies what makes MCP fun and interesting. First of all, the actual model, just beautiful, just an incredible model, and it's a big kind of centerpiece model. People will be able to see it from across the table, but also her kind of exploding mechanic is so cool. It's so thematic and cinematic that it's hard to walk away from that and not be like, oh wow, that was awesome, right? Regardless of what was actually rolled, regardless of the kind of win state one way or the other, I think it's really interesting. I think it's a lot of fun. I think when, like you said earlier, we're all competitive players, we can kind of take off that hat for a minute or so and kind of look at, hey, we lost all this terrain, everything just died, and kind of our mind's eyes imagine the kind of comic book panel or the kind of animated scene where that happens. I think it's incredible.
So a cinematic event that is this ability triggering.
Exactly.
Yeah, it is one of those things that you're going to talk about with your buddies in the game store weeks, months, years after it happened, right?
Yeah.
I've got a buddy who Ghost Spider pulled his Green Goblin into sinister traps, and Green Goblin died from it. And we still talk about that, even though it's like 3 or 4 years later. She's going to be that same character. When she blows up and wins you the game, you're going to talk about that moment for the rest of the time you play MCP, which is a really cool thing.
Yeah, I agree. I'm excited to continue to see their commitment to pushing out interestingly designed 6 threats, like I said, that aren't just like stat increases. And I love this model because I love X-Men. So I'm happy to see them do it, Happy to see them
She is definitely not the Unga Bunga Thor who's charging forward and really obvious how to formulate the play pattern. She's got a lot of different things going on, which is really interesting.
And I think to a degree will reward repeated repetitions from a play loop perspective with her. I think it will reward getting to really know and understand how this model wants to be played. And she's just really cool looking, So I'm a fan. I think it'll be cool to see how this affects the overall meta. Gentlemen, we have ellipsed our 1 hour line in the sand. So we're about at that time. I guess the only thing left to do is to say goodbye to the internet. Thank you once again, the internet. You've been the internet. We've been the Danger Planet team. If you guys like this type of content, let us know with a like and subscribe. Say something in the comments. Join our Discord. Omar and Shane are there all the time talking about MCP and Malifaux and generally being Muppets. So, if you find those guys distasteful, you should probably avoid the Discord. But if not, jump on in. They're great. And like I said, guys, you're going to see more MCP stuff from us in the future. If there's particular types of content you want to see us make, or you have questions, or you have comments, please put them down below. It helps us out. We're a very, very small indie gaming channel, so any type of support we can get from folks is awesome and very much appreciated. Gentlemen, would you like to do the honors as a dynamic duo and say goodbye to the internet?
Goodbye, internet.
Goodbye.
Come on, I feel like, listen, all right, well, that was fine. That was fine.
Hey everyone, thanks for stopping by the planet. You can check out the video description below for all of our important info and links. You can see a link to the Discord if you want to come be nerds on the internet with us. We have channels for like all the games that we're playing and all of our community members are excited about. You can also check out all of our affiliate links for like our Redbubble merch store, our Pro Acryl discount code because they make the best hobby supplies on our planet and yours, and of course our weird affiliate link if you're buying Malifaux stuff straight from Jonathan Q. Weird himself. Most importantly though, you can see a link to our Patreon where I post things from time to time, like behind the scenes cuts or early vids, and we even have a tier where I'll bake you cookies and send them to you in real life. Thanks a ton to our current patrons who cover the cost of all of our software to make these videos, and we couldn't do it without them. You can see their names appearing now across the screen, and until next time, goodbye the internet. We did it!